I became a different man. I become very good. I think he's going to be a coward and they're going to try to take me down. As always, all the fighters are cowards. They don't want to stand up with me. Why don't they stand up with me like a real man? Fight like a real man.
Before Paul Harris and his infatuation with heel hooks, before Jones and his freaking eye pokes, there was Gilbert Yvel, one of the dirtiest fighters in MMA, according to critics and fans. But despite Yvel's unsportsmanlike behavior, he was also a good fighter. I had never seen a heavyweight with such a kick-heavy style before. Yvel also had dangerous hands when he connected, but he relied heavily on kicks and knees. And throughout his career, he would also develop some decent ground skills. Gilbert Yvel was born in the Netherlands to Surinamese and Haitian parents, and soon after abandoned. Growing up as an orphan on the streets of Amsterdam must have been hard, and as Yvel got older, he got introduced to kickboxing by his brother. Dutch kickboxing has earned a reputation over the years for its effectiveness. The main difference between the Dutch style and classic kickboxing was the incorporation of elements from other styles like karate, Muay Thai, and a heavier focus on boxing. The Dutch have produced many great kickboxers like Ernesto Hoost, Ramon Dekker, and Rob Kaman, to name a few. This was the legacy Yvel would inherit when he started training with people like Lucien Carbine, another Dutch kickboxing legend who, interestingly enough, was also of Surinamese descent. Gilbert's debut in MMA came in '97 when he joined Fighting Network Rings. Needless to say, Yvel would devastate his first few opponents with vicious knees and relentless kicks, winning 8 of his first 9 fights via KO or TKO. In his first fight against Rob van Leeuwen, Yvel threw so many kicks, it was like the damn World Cup, minus the hooligans. In his next fight against Leon Djiek, or Djiek, I don't know how the fuck you pronounce it, Yvel decided that Leon was in dire need of being kneed. Okay, I'm done. Vyacheslav Kiselov, same deal. After being kneed a few times in the midsection, Kiselov got a tummy ache and decided to lie down. Gilbert is 6'2", or 188 centimeters, so a tall guy, and he was good at launching those knees from a distance. Yvel entered the M1 MFC light heavyweight tournament and knocked out Sergey Tunik as well as Oleg Zygalnik in the same night, winning the tournament. Oddly enough, Oleg was constantly complaining about illegal shots by Yvel and then just kind of threw in the towel, I guess. I didn't notice anything shady in that fight, so I don't know. Anyway, after KOing some dude named Bas Jusen, Yvel faced Bob Schreiber at Rings Holland, the king of rings. Bob Schreiber, along with Tsuyoshi Koshaka and Dan Henderson, were really the only guys that gave Yvel any trouble during his stint in rings. In his first fight with Schreiber, the boys went back and forth in a grueling fight. There were a lot of kicks, a lot of punches, culminating in Yvel getting an Achilles lock, of all things, when Schreiber decided to take it to the ground. In those early days, Yvel's ground game was very basic. In fact, it was just downright lacking in many areas. And like Paul Harris, Yvel was a leg man. But unlike Paul Harris, Yvel actually let go when prompted. Yvel joined the IMA KO Power Tournament and got through the first round when he TKO'd a man named Darulis. That same night, he had a rematch with Schreiber in the finals. This time, Schreiber attacked Yvel's legs, and when Yvel's ability to move properly was compromised, Schreiber landed a right hand that knocked Yvel out. This was Yvel's first loss. After Yvel's loss to Schreiber, he would lose again when fighting Karamula Barkalaev. Barkalaev was out-grappling Yvel throughout the fight, getting takedowns and really just creating the blueprint on how to fight Yvel at the time. Gilbert must have gotten frustrated or just skipped his lunch, I don't know, but when Barkalive was on top, Gilbert started biting Barkalive, after which Yvel got disqualified. After his back-to-back losses, Yvel went on a decent run, winning his next 6 fights, all of them by either KO or TKO. He beat Uberim's brother, Valentin, as well as UK MMA pioneer Lee Hasdell. Yvel dispatched Big Mo and Todd Medina with knees. Big Mo got a little extra on top, with his being the flying variety. After that, Yvel went to Japan for the first time and faced Tsuyoshi Koshaka. Here, Yvel was being a very naughty boy. He did win the fight, but that was after beating Koshaka up on the feet, a few illegal knees, some illegal punches on the ground, and grabbing the ropes repeatedly, which kind of sucked for Koshaka, seeing as how his whole thing was submission grappling. Koshaka did manage to take it to the ground, but didn't really do much with it. In the end, Koshaka just took too much damage and lost via doctor stoppage. This was the first time you saw Yvel cheat properly, and he did it with gusto. Next on the chopping block was Sammy Schilt, or Hightower. In this one, Hightower was getting lit up and dropped, even though he was way bigger than Yvel at 6'11" or 211 centimeters. Yvel's aggression and power were really on full display here when he knocked out Schilt in the second round. Yvel went back to Japan to have a rematch with Koshaka. I couldn't find the fight anywhere, but from what I read, the bout was declared a no contest when the two fell out of the ring and Koshaka got injured. Unfortunately for Yvel, he had lost some points because, he was cheating, so Koshaka was declared the winner. So Yvel kind of defeated himself here, which was a shame because he won his next 5 fights. He could have put together his longest win streak here at 12 wins. Yvel's next 5 were all stoppages. He put on an absolute clinic on how to knee and elbow somebody when he beat Fabio Piemonte. Dennis Reed went nighty-night when he ate a flying knee. Yvel then entered the Rings King of Kings tournament. In the first round, he submitted some dude named Teriel with an armbar, and in the second round, Yvel fought his old buddy Tsuyoshi Koshaka again for the 3rd time and won via TKO. Before the final round, Yvel beat up some guy named Jupe Castile in an entertaining dogfight where both men were throwing hands like they had just cucked each other or something, with Yvel getting a palm strike KO. That was some old school shit right there, some Boss Rutan shit. In the final round, Yvel fought Dan Henderson. Go watch my Dan Henderson video to see how that went. But in short, Yvel lost. At this point, Yvel was now 20-4, with 2 of those losses coming, because of Yvel's shenanigans. The sun was now setting on Yvel's time at Rings, but not before he got a title shot in the open weight division. Kiyoshi Tamura, who was one of the greatest shoot wrestlers of our time, would be Yvel's opponent. Yvel was punishing Tamura on the feet, with Tamura spamming the takedowns and managing to get a few, but couldn't capitalize. The ref was always standing them up too, so a lot of energy was being wasted getting Gilbert to the ground with little to no reward. In the end, Yvel just broke Tamura down and won via TKO, winning the Rings Openweight Championship. Soon after that fight, Yvel left Rings and vacated his belt. Gilbert had been fighting some tough guys, albeit lesser known, but as soon as he got to Pride, the usual suspects started showing up. In his debut at Pride 9, Yvel was welcomed by none other than Vitor Belfort. Now, you might think, hey, that sounds great. 2 strikers, 1 boxer, 1 kickboxer. This is gonna get ugly. But no, the fight was honestly pretty boring, with Vitor turning it into a cuddle session. I don't have a problem with grappling. I have a problem with guys who get top position and just wait out the clock. Vitor was on top the whole fight and didn't do jack shit. Yvel either couldn't or wouldn't get up and ended up losing via decision. So, not a great first impression in Pride. Yvel would make a statement though in his next fight against Gary Goodridge, scoring a head kick KO only 28 seconds into the first round at Pride 10. Pride threw the kitchen sink at Yvel, having him fight Vanderlei Silva next. Ironically, Yvel was not the one dishing out fouls in this one, with the fight being declared a no contest when Silva mistook Gilbert's crotch for a soccer ball. Gilbert had 1 loss and 1 win in his next 2 fights, when he fought Kazuyuki Fujita and Carlos Barreto, respectively. In the Fujita fight, Yvel got taken down and was unable to get up. Fujita didn't really do much, but got the win anyway. In the Barreto fight, Yvel got taken down and mounted, but for some reason the ref decided to stand him up. I don't know if it was because of a modified rule set or just the bonehead call by the ref, but Yvel wasted no time and knocked Barreto out with a flying knee. Next up was legend Igor Vovchanchin. In a strange turn of events, Igor ended up on top and submitted Yvel with a rear naked choke, being one of only 2 people that submitted Yvel. What was interesting about this one was that Igor was a decorated kickboxer, and he was known for just knocking motherfuckers out. So everyone was expecting a stand-up war, but that's the way she goes, I guess. After his loss to Igor, Yvel got matched up with Don Fry. All of Yvel's losses in Pride had been due to his shortcomings in the grappling department, and his fight with Fry would be a turning point. It forced Yvel to start focusing more on his grappling, since most guys just wanted to spoon with him now. The fight was fun to watch, with Yvel using more dirty tricks than the Gambino crime family, grabbing the ropes, refusing to get back in position after being stood up, trying to poke Fry's eyes out, getting 2 yellow cards. Fry was of course trying to wrestle, and he did do some damage on the ground, as well as going for submissions, but in the end, Fry's eyes were just too jacked up, and Yvel got disqualified. After the Fry fight, Yvel's ground game got noticeably better, with him submitting his next opponent with a rear naked choke. Gilbert had his 3rd and final fight with Bob Schreiber, winning via TKO. And at Pride 21, Yvel fought Jeremy Horn. The fight was mostly a grappling match, as you would imagine, with Horn on top, but Gilbert showed good defense, pulling off some reversals and even getting up at one point. Yvel did survive, but would lose via decision. Gilbert only beat 1 opponent of his next 4, TKOing Czech Congo and suffering a draw with Daniel Tabira. Technically, he did score a knockout in his fight with Adi Backman, but he knocked out the ref, so I don't think it counts. Yvel had a rematch with Uberim's brother in what turned out to be a fun grappling match. Overeem went for a leg lock and Yvel managed to sweep, ending up in mount and getting an armbar. In his fight with Roman Zentsov, Yvel was in all kinds of trouble on the ground, but he survived and got back to his feet. Unfortunately though, there he got knocked out. As Yvel's Pride days were coming to an end, he bounced around organizations like K1, Cage Rage, M1, and Affliction, winning all of his fights by either KO or submission. When Yvel fought Fabiano Schörner and Akira Shoji, we got to see the evolution of Yvel's grappling. He defended well against leg locks and reversed position, TKOing both guys. When he faced Sergei Shemetov, Yvel got taken down and mounted, but he went for a leg and got a toe hold. It was becoming obvious now that guys couldn't just cheese it anymore by taking Yvel down and lying on top of him. Josh Barnett would be the one to ruin Yvel's winning streak when the two fought at Affliction Day of Reckoning. Even though Yvel's ground game had improved leaps and bounds, Barnett was just levels above and out-grappled Yvel. Gilbert tried his darndest to survive, but was just overwhelmed and pounded into submission. Yvel's last fight before joining the UFC was against Pedro Rizau. Like usual, Yvel ended up on bottom, but escaped to his feet and knocked out Rizau. Not long after that, Yvel would sign with the UFC. After more than a decade of fighting, Yvel finally made it to the UFC. Unfortunately for Yvel, he lost all 3 fights that he had with the promotion. In his fight with Junior Dos Santos, the boys exchanged some heat until JDS connected and took Yvel out. With Ben Rothwell, he lost via decision, and when facing Madsen, Yvel got taken down and finished with punches. Yvel got cut from the UFC at 0-3, and from 2010 to 2018, Gilbert would only fight 4 more times, stopping all 4 opponents in the first round. He finished Damien Dantibo with punches, knocked out Jason Alexander, as well as jacking Rico Rodriguez's legs up with vicious leg kicks. And wouldn't you know it, in Yvel's last MMA fight before retiring, he was the one that took Mighty Mo down and submitted him. So Yvel started his career as a kickboxer and ended it as a grappler. After retiring from competition, Yvel took up a coaching position somewhere in Germany. Was Gilbert Yvel a dirty fighter? Sometimes. He wasn't as egregious as Paul Harris or as frequent with his fouls like Jones, but he definitely had a bag of dirty tricks he used in certain fights. In spite of that, Yvel was a very capable kickboxer with great knees and knockout power. Yvel also had a mean streak in him that not many guys have or had, which is probably due to his rough upbringing. His grappling was definitely the chink in his armor, but unlike many fighters who didn't evolve with the sport, Gilbert worked hard to plug those holes, and that is fun to watch. And even though Yvel didn't do so great in Pride or the UFC, he still beat the shit out of everyone everywhere else he went, finishing up his career at 40 wins and 16 losses. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And if you made it this far, like, subscribe, and blah blah blah, all that. I've gotten a lot of requests for videos, and I just want to let you all know that I'm gonna do every single one of them. So if there's any special fighter that you want to see, just leave his name in the comments or something, and I'm gonna try to upload more frequently from now on. So until next time, you fucking jerk-offs.